Hello, everyone. Good morning and good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to today's online event. This is Jill from USC. So today is the 100th episode of the USC Graduate Program events. It's been almost 2 years since the very first one. So we want to say a big thank you to all of you guys for supporting and joining us. So USC Graduate Program events are a series of webinars devoting to spread ideas, cutting-edge knowledge and insights from different industries and areas will be presented here by world-leading renowned speakers of USC. And we will keep having new content in the future, so please stay tuned and subscribe to our official WeChat channel, USC China office, to discover more past events and receive notifications for new events. So today's topic is the power of curiosity from USC Leonard Davis School of Gerontology. And please note there will be time for Q&A at the end, so feel free to leave your questions down below in the chat box. We will try to go over as many as we can. And please note this webinar will be recorded for future use. And please mute yourself during the presentation for a good quality event. Now, please let us welcome May, Stephen, and Joshua.
嗨，大家早上好，欢迎你们今天来参加这个讲座。我的名字叫做 May A， 中文名字是胡燕梅，我是南加州大学老年学院的国际交流和资讯科技总监。南加州 USC 就是位于南加州的洛杉矶市中心。南加大呢，在美国的排名非常之高。我们大学呢有22个多个学院，我们老年学院就是其中第一个。Leonard Davis School 老年学院呢是全球第一所专门研究老年科学的学院，我们是世界排名第一位的。我们的学院在1975年创立，规模非常大，已经有差不多50年的历史了。原来世界红后有来自老年医学、心理学、社会学、人口统计学、营养学、商业管理学、生物分子学等等多种领域的专家学者。南加州大学的国际学生有14000多个，来自100多个不同的国家。南加大是美国拥有最多中国留学生的大学。因为我们的教授会介绍老年产业运营案例和好奇心的创作可能。有什么问题你们可以写在 chat 上面，我等一会我会把我的微信联络的方式放在 chat 上面，欢迎你们加我的微信。现在听 Stephen 我们的招生顾问介绍今天的嘉宾，谢谢大家。
大家好，我是 Stephen. I am Stephen, and I am an admission counselor here at the USC Leonard Davis School of Gerontology. I can help answer any questions about our programs, our school, careers within the field of gerontology, or any of our admission processes. Tonight, I have the honor to introduce Josh Johnson, who is an adjunct lecturer and alum of the program. He is also Chief Operating Officer at West Bay Senior Living, located in Orange County, California. He has over 25 years experience managing senior living communities and properties. He has broken records during his career for having highest net margin, highest price per unit, and highest occupancy during the 2008 recession. In 2012, Josh moved to China to establish a successful 3,000 apartment continuing care retirement community, and develop plans for an additional 6 similar communities in China. In addition, in 2016, Josh started his own investment company, Atlantis Senior Living, which is responsible for brokering over 60 properties worth over $900 million. Without further ado, Dr. Josh Johnson.
Well, hello, everyone. I'm honored to be here, also humbled to be here. And I appreciate the invitation. So a little bit about myself. I know Stephen already went through quite a bit. I received my undergraduate degree at Indiana University. I then actually was fortunate enough to become an administrator in training straight out of school. and I worked for a company called Life Care Services. Life Care actually manages very large, what are called continuing care retirement communities. I then worked for Marriott. Most people don't know, but Marriott, the hotel brand, used to own senior living facilities. And so I worked for them for some time, but then they got out of the business. And so I moved over to Belmont Village. And then when I moved down to take over a large continuing care retirement community called the Covington, that's when I went back to school. And I was fortunate enough to go to USC and the gerontology program. And I graduated there and I enjoyed it very much. And it really, I had been an operator already for 10 years, but it really gave me a different outlook in terms of the aging process that I truly appreciated because I was more focused on the business end of taking care of seniors. And so it was fascinating to learn kind of the sociological and psychological aspects of aging. So I truly felt like I expanded my knowledge by going back to USC. And I enjoyed it so much that I wanted to start teaching there. So the first class I taught there was called Legal and Regulatory Issues in Long-Term Care. May not be the most exciting class, teaching regulation, but it's a very important one because in America, senior living has the second most regulations behind nuclear power. And so that was fascinating to teach. And now, since I came back from China, I now teach sales and marketing, and I teach a leadership course. I was in China from 2012 to 2015, helping an insurance company establish their senior living platform. And then I came back to America where I started buying assisted living facilities. And I was helping that insurance company buy and invest in senior living in the United States. I still own a number of communities. And most recently, I've started up a management company along with my business partner, Jim Biggs, who also lived in China. In fact, he lived there twice as long as I did. So it was interesting because when I was asked to give this talk, and I've given a lot of talks to people overseas before, I would always reference my China tenure because I did live and work there for 3 years. However, I struggled with that for this talk because honestly, it's been a long time. And I came back to the United States in 2015. And so when I was thinking about this, I was also thinking about when I lived in China, how fast everything moved. It was amazing to see the speed that changes occur. And I knew that any information I would start talking about would be basically outdated. And so I really had one of these personal reflections of my career. And what I wanted to do was think about the times when things occurred that transformed my career. And looking back at those times, it all boiled down to what I call curiosity. And I want to talk about those times tonight and what I think can really motivate and change people for the better. So in my classes and in my work now at the management company, I have a responsibility, and I consider that a personal responsibility to help employees and students grow. And through that time, ever since I've come back from China and started teaching again, I really have thought about what makes us learn, what makes us better. And it boiled down to two things. One, you can gain your wisdom through experience. And what I mean by that is being older, like me, and learning from failures, learning from successes, learning what's working and not working, and making sure that you don't repeat past problems. But the other thing, the other way for true advancement in a short period of time is what I would call curiosity. And I really started thinking about that in the times, because my career has never been a flat line or even a straight line going up. It has always been a jagged line, right? It's like the stock market. And the times where I think I advanced the most were the times where I thought outside the box. I thought about how we could do things differently. And to me, that was a very powerful notion, because I don't regret not being more curious, but I would have liked to have taken the opportunity of even exploring more than I did back when I was growing in my career. I put this on for my classes, and I'm actually gonna do this because this is a 9-dot puzzle. And it is an example of how we actually set boundaries in our mind. Now, when I do this for class, and I do this for my employees too, the exercise is as follows. You would have to connect all 9 dots by putting your pen on one of the dots and drawing 4 straight lines. You cannot pick your pen up. That is the rule. And so normally I give my classes about 10 minutes to complete this puzzle. Obviously, we're not going to do that tonight, but I'm going to show you how you do it. So you take your pen, you draw a straight line, you draw it up, you draw it over, and you draw it across. The issue that most people have is these 9 dots become a box in their mind. It sets a fictitious boundary that they don't think that they can move beyond. And so this happens in business as well. We have certain boundaries that we don't think that we should be able to cross. There are certain restrictions. And this actually happened when I moved to China. Now, I come from America, where we have, in senior living, you have your nursing home, you have assisted living, and you have independent living. And so I went into China and was advising them how to build these different types of senior living. I did not think outside the box, because the reason why America has these 3 distinct areas is because of regulation. China does not have those same regulations. So you don't necessarily have to create those boundaries of independent living, assisted living, skilled nursing. You may just decide to do 2 areas of care and call it an independent living and with some services, and then another side that's more intensive in terms of care services. The thing I thought about is I have been restricted in my mind for the ways that things work. And one thing I truly appreciated by my time living in China was learning how to do things differently, learning how to train people differently. I have never met a nicer group of people that really wanted to learn, and that was refreshing. And so, you know, taking that dedication and excitement, trying to bring that back to America, has been actually pretty rewarding. So I'm going to go back to earlier on in my career. Now, I was 23 years old when I first started running my first place. And it was interesting because there had always been a monthly town hall meeting. This is just a small example. And in this town hall meeting, it was a once a month meeting with our residents. And in that meeting, they would basically state anything that they were unhappy with. And it would last maybe an hour, hour and a half. And I would take notes and I would work on that over the next month. But what I found was it had always been done that way there before. But when one person had a complaint, it actually fostered negativity to the other person who may not have known that there was a problem at all. Maybe it was a door that wasn't shutting right. Maybe it was a window that wasn't closing. Maybe it was a vegetable that was too soft. It was a multitude and all these small things. And I correlate that to what I call a death by 1,000 cuts, right? And all of a sudden, when people came into the meeting thinking, oh, just this one small thing is wrong, all of a sudden they're thinking, oh, okay, 100 things are wrong, right? And so I decided, why not change this? Why not make it more positive, but make it individually focused? And so we decided, instead of town halls, we're going to throw a barbecue every month. And in this barbecue, you can invite your family. It's our job, my job, and the directors to walk around the barbecue. We're going to help, but we're also going to ask you, is there anything we can improve upon? We still got all of those minor little complaints individually from people. And those are really important because you want to be able to act on those. At the same time, it was a very positive type of meeting. And it actually strengthened our resident relations and their satisfaction. So I took that knowledge early on in my career, and I then tried to figure out other things. I was curious about our pull cord system. Just so you all know, when a resident in assisted living, when they need help, they pull a pull cord, or at least they used to. Now they push a pendant, they do different things to let us know. But it would take sometimes 10 minutes for the caregiver to go there. Excuse me. And to me, that was too long. I wanted it to be answered within 5 minutes. So I was young, 23, 24 years old. And so I would just tell them, my expectation is by 5 minutes. But it didn't happen. It was still 10 minutes. I decided to implement what I called at the time Project Empathy. Let's put ourselves in the resident's shoes. And I do this in our class today. So what I did first is I took the director of nursing and I put her in a room. And in this room, I sat her in a chair. There was no clock in the room. At that time, people didn't carry cell phones too often, but I took her watch. That was the other thing. And I said, I will come back in 10 minutes. I want you to pretend you're a resident and you have to go to the bathroom. And so I came back in 10 minutes and she thought I forgot about her because 10 minutes sitting there was excruciating, right? Especially when you have nothing to do except wait for the person to come. And so then I said, all right, I want every caregiver to do this exercise. And so we did. And immediately after that, our calls went down within the 5 minutes. It was amazing. But just by putting ourselves in those resident shoes, we were able to change the mindset of people. And that was really important. And so I learned at a pretty young age that we could do these things if we focus on them as a team. And so I started what I call my monthly mantra. So every month we would focus on one thing. Now, I don't have a lot of patience and I don't like doing things for too long. So I figure every month is a pretty good time period for starting something new. So 1 month it was pull cords, another month it might be overtime, or it might be making sure we say, oh, one of the months was you cannot let a stranger go by without saying, welcome to Belmont Village. We hope you have a great tour, right? And it's amazing, even though that was just the mantra for the month, it never went away, right? People actually enjoyed doing it after they got in the accustomed to greeting visitors. So I give those two small examples because this was something I was able to do at a very young age, just by being curious, just by wondering if we could do things a little bit different, right? And so I then, I wanted to do something even more different. I was managing a Belmont Village. I thought I was pretty good at sales and marketing. And I decided we're going to sell, because everyone was selling to doctors, right? They were all marketing to doctors because they figured doctors would refer people to our place. Now that's true. That's a classic way of doing it. And I thought, you know what? We're also going to market to all the beauticians, all the hairdressers in the area. And my theory was our residents will tell hairdressers what they won't tell their doctor, what they won't tell their family, because that hairdresser becomes the least paid psychologist for a senior. I got this from my mom, who tells her hairdresser everything. And so does my wife, actually. And so they end up having this bond with their hairdressers. So I thought, let's market to hairdressers. And we're even going to throw a party for hairdressers at the Belmont Village. It bombed. It did not work at all. Okay, not at all. And I was pretty embarrassed, to be honest with you, because I thought it would work. In fact, I still think it has a little bit of merit, to be honest with you. But looking back, and I thought it was a failure. It was not a failure. It really wasn't. Because you know what it did? It was funny because number one, it got all of our directors to work in a cohesive manner. And they were all kind of excited by it. They thought it was funny that we were marketing to hairdressers. But it actually formed a bond within our team because they liked doing something different. That was okay. They liked working together in that manner. And we became a pretty strong team. And we actually filled that building faster than any other building that existed within Belmont Village at that time. Now, that was a long time ago. They probably have filled the building within 5 months of opening now. I don't know. But I look back and just the sheer act of trying something different, trying something outside the box and rallying our troops was very powerful. And I learned actions speak louder than words by doing this, because I was out there with them, doing it, talking them up, and really being a good teammate. And I do this at conferences. I can't see any of you, but one thing I do at a conference sometimes, just to illustrate this point, is I'll tell everyone to put their finger up in the air and make a number one. So if you're at home or work or wherever, just put your finger up in the air like you're number one. All right. So when you do that, not everyone's doing it, even the people I see. But when you do it, now make a W because you're a winner. Right? Now touch your chin. Now, even when I do this in America with English speaking people, and I've told them to touch their chin, 90% of people are touching their cheek. Why are they touching their cheek? Because they saw me touch my cheek, right? They didn't listen to what I say. They followed what I did, right? If you listen to what I say, you would have been touching your chin. And that's a huge difference. It's actions always will speak louder than words, and they will mean more. So later on, I was managing a continuing care retirement community, and it was a very expensive retirement community. And I had always worked for a business, and I was trying to figure out how to build wealth at that time. And what was interesting is this continuing care retirement community charged an entrance fee. It charged $1 million to walk in the door, right? In order to move in, you had to pay $1 million, and then you paid the monthly rent. And so the average person was worth, they were all multimillionaires. And I wanted to figure out, how did they earn all their money? And so while working there, I did figure it out. And one thing I learned during that time was most people had a regular job, throughout their career. They were accountants. They maybe worked in finance. We had some lawyers. We had teachers. We had everything. But what they did is they saved their money and they bought real estate on the side. That was one thing they did, whether it was a small apartment place, a condo, another house, and they would rent it out. I would say the vast majority of those residents had some type of extra housing or something of the sort that they were renting and trying to make money off of, what I call mailbox money. And so most people, like I said, they had a regular job, but they had supplemental income. And they were actually able to build wealth over time. This fascinated me because I wanted to do this. And so that was one thing that I took away just because I was curious. I was trying to figure out, all right, how do I get stock in a company? And I realized most of these people did not get stock in a company. Most of these people that the problem that we see now is most people think, all right, I can get stock and become a millionaire overnight, something of the sort. The vast majority did not. And so that was something that actually I was able to observe and learn over time. Now, one thing that when you try to go for success, everyone has their personal ceiling, I call it. And your personal ceiling will be set typically by how much risk you're able to take. And a lot of people are not willing to take those risks. In order to try to advance success, sometimes you have to take on debt, both either personal or business. There's a term, it's called recourse or non-recourse. That is whether you have to guarantee the loan. People are not willing to do a loss of income in order to maybe become an entrepreneur. And there are a lot of external factors. Maybe it's family commitments, and that's okay. But there's a quote, it was by Helen Keller, that basically said, only when you truly have lost everything do you have the ability to do anything. And I remember being in China at 2015, and the economy was kind of teetering at that time. It was kind of having some hiccups. And for the first time in my life, I actually thought I might lose my job. And it was a very scary feeling. I'm living in China with a family and a dog. And I'm thinking, what am I going to do if I lose my job? And so I thought, now's the time. I need to invest in real estate. And it was that fear that actually caused me to do it. I was living very comfortably at the time. And so I was willing to take that risk because of the fact that, honestly, I thought I was going to lose my job. So that curiosity was one out of fear, I would say. Now, when I decided to take the plunge and go into business for myself at that point, you know, I figured out I love to position companies. I love to reposition companies. And to me, it was the ultimate in my curiosity. How do I take this company that's not doing well and turn it around? And so what I found was you have to play to your strengths. I would not take over a business that was in regulatory trouble. Even though I taught it in school, my strength is not regulation. My strength is in sales and marketing. And so I wanted to find businesses that were struggling a little bit on the occupancy level, or maybe they weren't getting enough revenue per unit, and turn those around. And so my first foray was a company in Iowa that had never been full. But I knew that with some strategic planning, we could be full. And we did end up filling. Now, one thing I do with one of my classes is I have the class actually reposition a community. And it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of work, but it is a lot of fun. And so they take a community, one that I bought previously, and they turn it around. Now, each individual turns it around their own way, and they play to their strengths, right? And so it's been a great exercise for a lot of people. Now, curiosity in common times. It is very true that people have what I call COVID fatigue. And it is hard. in our industry. We've been through a lot in senior living, both with occupancy struggles and hiring struggles and staffing struggles and outbreaks, residents dying. It's been very difficult. So I went into a community that had a lot of what we call temporary labor, which is very expensive then. And I was, well, for lack of a better word, I was curious. What is going on? So what was going on, we found, I went straight to HR to find out how many applications do we have for caregivers? Well, we have 73. Well, how many applications do we have for cooks? We have 48. How many applications for food servers? 52. We have all these applications, but we're not hiring them. And what happened during COVID, which I chalk up to COVID fatigue, we had gotten so used to relying on temporary labor that we just started scheduling it. And the directors, it takes a lot of time to hire people. It takes a lot of time to train people. And they were tired. They were tired from COVID. They were tired from all this stuff. And so we had to find the root of the problem. We had to re-educate and reinvigorate our staff in order to work on these issues and solve them. And it was hard, and it's still hard going on, but we are solving it. So that brings up, when I own the communities, when you just own something like that, it can be a little lonely. And so one thing that I did, because we got restless, is we started up a management company. Stephen referenced West Bay. We're rebranding to Momentum Senior Living. But it gave me a chance to start working with young administrators again. And I love that. And so an example of what we've been able to accomplish is here. We have a community in Los Angeles called the Varial. This is a large community. It's 336 units. Here are the people who designed it and our architects. And it is an amazing building, first of all. It is an amazing platform. This building is basically a $280 million building. So it's very large and very expensive. But what it really did that I'm excited about is it gave what I call pathways to a lot of our students. And I'm very proud of that. So we have hired 5 graduates from USC. And this is my curious part to where I'm going next. The people most responsible for the success of the building is the administrator. We have found that over and over again throughout our whole senior living career, that if you take a really good administrator, they can make almost any building a success. And so finding that administrator can be very difficult. And we thought, let's hire them from school. Let's train them at a site. So we have hired 5 people. One is our assisted living director. The other one is our memory care director. Then we have our director of hospitality. We have a marketing and sales, not director, but a person. And we have a person that helps out our administration. And these people are learning everything about the business right now. And they're doing a fantastic job. So we're building sites up and down the coast in California right now. So we have 7 sites that are going to be opening over the next 3 years. Now, these 5 people will be managing those properties. And I'm excited to see what can happen. So I think we've been able to hopefully solve one of our biggest hiring issues, which is the leadership of the community. And I'm very excited about that. I wanted to put some pictures on so you can see what the environment that they work in. And it is a very nice building. It does not look like your typical senior living, which is what we wanted to accomplish. The interior designer actually designed the Waldorf Astoria renovation in Dana Point. Now, one thing we took away from China, just as a side note, our private dining room has a very large circle table. You do not find that very often in America, by the way. But for a social setting, it doesn't get better than that. And I love it. We have other amenities there that we basically have created in order to build a niche in the market. Going back to my favorite part of Curiosity is figuring out how you can differentiate yourself from competition, which I think is incredibly important. So these amenities definitely differentiate ourselves from our local competitors there, because no one has an indoor swimming pool. People don't have a golf simulator. Their movie theaters are terrible. And so it's one way we can differentiate. And then here's an example of our apartments there in the senior living, which are very nice and very large, and they did a great job. So I wanted to end with some nice pics that you could see of the environment that our students are currently working in. And so I think we'll take questions.
Thank you very much, Josh. I really appreciated that presentation and learning more about your insight. I actually have one question for you. I have been to the Varial and seen your students in action. And every time I'm there, the residents are eager to talk to them, say hello, pick their mind. What do you think connects all of these students within your facilities? What good qualities makes a good administrator within this industry?
Well, I mean, I hate to say it this way, but they're in USC, so they're pretty darn smart, right? So that's number one. I think they all 5 of them have a real passion for what they're doing. And I think that really shows to the residents. It's amazing because these students realize this is not my stopping point. You know, I want to learn and I want to grow as much as possible to get ready for my next adventure. And they come in so enthusiastic to be part of that community and learn from our residents. So I think it's that enthusiasm that really binds them together in terms of one quality that they all share.
Great. And another question, while anyone that does have them can put them in the chat function, is you were talking earlier about breaking the traditional way of thinking. How do you teach that in your classes, or how does your colleague Jim Biggs teach that?
Well, it's just like we definitely try to bring in a lot of real life examples, right, of how we did things differently. But I think, and I wasn't going to say this, but Gero, in my opinion, is so much more of a flexible major than, say, business class, right? I mean, I've taken a lot of business classes over my time, and it is basically a formulaic type of presentation that it's almost a script that you have to learn, where I think Gero is much more flexible, much more general in its approach, and really gets you to think about trends for the future. And I think if you can tag onto that in terms of those trends, you can realize how you can help a whole lot of people in the future. You look at the things we learn in Gero, even from a clinical aspect of the rising rate of diabetes, right? So you have an incredible rate of increasing diabetes worldwide, absolutely worldwide, because of the diet change that's occurring in almost every country. And as a gerontologist, and I hate to say this, as a businessman, I look at those trends and I'm like, what is going to be needed in the future, right? What's going to be needed would be home health for diabetes, senior living, all of these things that are going to be needed for those seniors. So you can identify those trends being a gerontologist. And that's one thing we try to teach our class as well. In terms of outside the box, I mean, it can be something as simple as that 9-dot puzzle, right? Where you're like, how can this be applicable in my daily life? Let me show you how. Have you ever tried to market to beauticians, right? I mean, just thinking of different ways of doing things is really important. Because you can't do what everyone else is doing and expect a better result. It's not going to happen.
Absolutely. And Jill, do we have any questions from the other platforms?
Oh, I see one on Zoom. So Rain Loy says, thank you for this session. When you say good administrator, how can the students well prepared in program of senior living hospitality? I guess,
So,
yeah, we can get, yeah.
Yeah, I think one thing you can do is take what I really want students to do is get work experience, okay? And I don't just mean senior living, I mean any style of work. When I was in college, I waited tables. Now, I didn't just think of it as a job. I wanted to learn things. And so it's amazing when you wait tables because you really learn how to connect with people and understand what people really want. By the end of my 2-year illustrious career, waiting tables, I could tell who was there for a serious date that they just wanted to be left alone. I could tell the husband and wife that were there that wanted to meet other people too and just have a good time. I could tell the family with kids, and I would do stupid things to entertain the kids and they would love me for it, right? You learn how to read people, you learn how to make those connections. And waiting tables was one of the most educational parts of my college experience, to be honest with you. I learned so much in doing that. So I think one thing that kids really miss out on today is they don't work during school. I'm not talking about, you don't have to wait tables. You can go out and get an internship at a senior living place. You could get an internship at a home care place. But getting those boots on the ground experience is very important.
Thank you. That was practical. And someone asks from other live stream platform saying that, is there any chance to work in your company if I go to USC to study?
Well, yes, because that's what we're doing now, right? I mean, we're hiring students from school to work in these different communities in different capacities. And so, absolutely. And we have other we're not the only ones, you know, we have other senior living management companies that are hiring these students too. And so it's a great, I mean, it's the best gerontology school that I know of. And so, of course, we value those students a lot.
Sure, thank you. And I guess, of course, there will be chances to have interns at your company as well, as long as you connect, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's the thing, like the other thing I'll tell you is don't be afraid to connect with people. You know, I made that mistake when I was young. I wouldn't like connect with a lot of network professionals. And it's a really important thing to do. And just put yourself out there. I mean, what's the harm? And so I was always I was actually pretty shy when I was really young. And, you know, eventually I learned it's not going to hurt anything, right? Just put yourself out there.
Okay, thank you. And someone wants to know about the payment of this professional industry.
So it depends on the job, obviously, because different jobs have different pay rates. We pay the prevailing wage. So, you know, like our assisted living manager might make, oh gosh, I don't even know, 70,000 a year. They don't make anywhere near as much as the administrators make. I mean, administrators typically are at least a 6-figure salary, but these are stepping stone positions in order to get there.
Got it. Thank you. And someone from Zoom, I see two questions popping up. So Shelley Lee asks, what do you think of the proverb, curiosity killed the cat? Is there any limit for being too curious that gets one into trouble or even risk of being killed? Wow.
I think that's the Shelley Lee I know that worked with our company before.
Okay.
And so yeah, she's one of our great friends. But I think it all goes down to risk, right? You might be curious, are you willing to take that risk? And you know, no risk, no reward, but you have to also do the equation, how much am I willing to risk at the same time?
Thank you. And thank you, Shelley Lee, for asking this. So someone called Yuki Tian Wang says, hi, professor, if I have business background already, do I have advantage compared with other background applicants? Thank you. Thank you. What subject do you prefer to have before master program? Or what preparation do you suggest before applying for this?
I don't know, because, you know, I came in to get my master's after working in the field for 10 years. And so I'm a bit different on that, rather than going from like an undergrad degree straight to master's, which is very common. I just didn't do it. And so I think you can come in, that's the advantage of gerontology. You can actually come in with almost any background. And that's the wonderful thing about it, because it does give you so many different pathways. I mean, I know we talked about senior housing a lot, but the field of gerontology is growing so quickly, and there's so many different avenues to different types of success. So I think it's one of the best degrees out there, to be honest with you.
Thank you. And Ray Luo asks, is there any requirement on working experiences for applying to this program?
I can take this one.
I don't think so. I don't know.
We have two similar programs. Josh teaches within the Master of Arts in Senior Living Hospitality degree. This program, you do not need any prior background experience, work experience in the field. You can come from a business background or any other background, and we'll teach you the foundational skill set. If you do have a business degree at the bachelor's level, we have advanced standing for a Master of Arts in Senior Living Hospitality degree program. We have two other majors that have been asked in this question, the Master of Arts and Master of Science in Gerontology. They're two separate programs. The Master of Arts, we do recommend that you have 2 to 5 years of working experience in the field, since the program doesn't have any sort of internship component. However, our Master of Science in Gerontology program, you do not need any prior experience, and we have an internship component that allows you to get this real-world work experience while completing a master's degree.
Okay, thank you. Very specific. Okay, I guess I'll wrap up. I'll go to the other platform and ask one last question. Someone is curious about, is there any senior living architectural design related job in West Bay?
Well, no, we're not architects, but we know a lot of senior living architect companies, so we can always make referrals.
Okay, great. I guess this audience is curious because of the photos you showed just now. So that was one trigger to that question, I guess. Okay, we received one more question from Ying Xue Li. Says there are almost 12 programs in a gerontology school. So you can go and check she's answering the questions. Okay. And is there any other questions that you guys have? You may go to the website and check it out, or email Stephen or May for more information, and stay tuned. And until next time, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Thank you,
Thank
Josh.
you, Josh, for
Thank you.
Thank
staying
you.
up late for us. Thank you.
No, thank you. Appreciate it.